Hello and welcome to the Outcast, the Not How to Train a Dragon podcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is,
Wolf.
and if you couldn't tell by the title or the picture you're seeing right now, today we are not straying that far away from a dragon topic because we are talking about the Dragon Prince, the new show by Avatar: The Last Airbender creators. I don't know. Aaron I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of their names. Aaron Eases and Justin Richmond. Again, sorry if I said those names incorrectly. But anyway, we watched it a while ago. Kind of, how early since it was? How did you watch it?
I think I watched it released on September 14th. I think I watched it pretty close to when it came out, maybe like a day or two later. Not very long. When was the 14th? Yeah, probably watched it on the 15th or the 16th, to be honest. So like, the next day or two, since that was close to the weekend.
Okay, I watched it. I think either a week or two after the premiere. Like I knew I was about to watch it because I'm a big Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, and I want to see what the people behind the show went on to do.
Mm-hmm.
And but but there was this thing called time, and I didn't have it when the show premiered because I was too busy saving New York. You will make of it as you will, and
Sure.
and then yeah, and but I watched it, and yeah, now we are here to talk about it. But keep in mind, we've seen it a month ago. I didn't have the time to go back and rewatch some of the episodes, but I remember enough in order to go over this. Fine, if I can go over this fine. What about you?
I've got a somewhat refresher course in a lot of the earlier episodes, and it's the last three that might give me a bit of a trouble remembering I didn't get to finish my refresher course, but I think I'll be able to fill in some of the gaps anyways.
Okay. Okay. So before we start, let's go over like
Professionalism as
non.
usual, and as
Yeah,
usual we don't have it.
yeah. Did you expect? And this is the Outcast, not the Berkcast. So maybe some new audience is coming in. I don't know. Maybe, please.
I feel sorry
But
for you.
hey, if I sink, you're sinking down with me. But anyway, what did I want to say? So we are starting off by just saying our general thoughts on the season,
Mhm.
non-spoilers. So if you want to just get our thoughts and what we think, then you can tag along for now. Once we're about to start talking spoilers, we'll let you know. So
Mhm.
Wolf, what do you think about this show? Kind of as its own thing, and also I'm assuming you are an Avatar fan as well from our previous talks. So
Mhm.
in comparing it to Avatar as well, what are your thoughts?
Just in case people get confused when we say Avatar, we mean Avatar: The Last Airbender. Just
Well, yeah, not the James Cameron Smurfy Cats thing. We are talking about
that's
Avatar: The
getting
Last
four
Airbender.
new movies, by the way.
Yeah, something. Whenever they delay one of those movies, I'm like, meanwhile, the sky is blue, the grass is green, humans breathe oxygen, and humans need oxygen in order to survive. Sports
Hmm.
at 11. That's literally my thought process regarding this thing. But I
Mm-hmm.
will give Avatar this. I saw the trailer for How to Train a Dragon in front of it. Like it was screen before it, so that's something I guess. And even then, I didn't like the trailer, as people know my story. So whatever. Anyway, go.
It's starting right off right. I think seeing the first episode and not going into spoilers, just seeing some of the first episode and some of the visuals from the show, like it looks, in my opinion, really good. Like it's a very beautiful looking show. Like I love the visual style they've gone with. And having watched it, I think it's overall like I feel like that there you can tell like this is from the creators, from some of the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender. You can because they hit some of those similar vibes pretty hard. I feel.
Yeah, like It's known as the season known as Book One, and it's literally like Avatar.
I mean, it's even some of the same font too. Like when they say "The Dragon Prince" by created by, and it's like that's the exact same font as Avatar's Last Airbender. I remember that.
Yeah, and also
Like,
and also like all the way the story is told, the kind of and it's not really a spoiler. The main character is voiced by Sokka's voice actor.
yeah, this is true.
Hmm.
But so, I mean, they definitely hit those feelings hard, but that's not a bad thing per se. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know. It feels like, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But was the first season of Avatar very kind of more playful and somewhat childlike in its nature, and the rest of it, and as it went on, it got a bit darker and more mature, I guess you'd say.
If I recall correctly, there was this thing with Avatar that like that the first season was kind of it's well written, it's fun, it's great, but you know it didn't reach like the maturity level until the end of season one. Like there was
Yeah,
that episode where we see that Aang ran away and what happened to Zuko and how he got this car. This was the point where people were like, whoa, okay, this is not an ordinary kids show.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's what I thought, and I think this has a similar vibe going to it, but I'm not quite entirely sure. It feels like this is maybe going to hit along the same level of the first season is kind of more playful, more childlike in its nature, and then we're going to get into some more mature themes and topics potentially and how we deal with them in the eye, from the view of this. This show is definitely that's more directed at a younger audience than what I am, sure. But I think we are going to get to that level. It's just first season we're kind of establishing things more, but it definitely feels more playful, more lighthearted considering some of the topics that it's covering. But they definitely don't shy away from anything that you would normally see a kid show shy away from, right? So I don't think you should go in with those kind of worries. The
yeah, like it's not it's
Yeah,
I kids can watch it, but at the same time, it is a bit. I don't want to say there are some things there that I don't think kids will necessarily get at a young age.
yeah. It's definitely like if they saw it, they might sit back and ask a couple of questions that they wouldn't understand or get. Like it doesn't shy away from the fact that it kills. That's a spoiler.
Mhm.
I can't
Yeah,
say that yet.
yeah. So
No one dies. You
uh,
didn't hear that, ladies and gentlemen. Rewind
okay,
that back. Ignore that comment.
okay. Ignore that. Anyway, so yeah, I kind of agree. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I have some problems, like not really a spoiler here, but it's one of those shows that you can tell a run for this thing. Like you can pretty much you can see that they have a bigger plan here, which
Yeah,
doesn't really come to for like this is a setup
yeah,
in
absolutely.
a lot of
Well,
ways,
actually, they've came forward
but
and said like what they want to do is this is a setup not just for the show, but they want to have a much larger like universe type deal going on where they have games, books, comic books, like a whole media thing that they want to do with this and set up for it. So it's definitely a part of a much bigger story they want to tell and a much bigger world they want to explore. And
yeah.
you can tell it's set up for that, but it's set up fairly well for that, right?
Mhm.
Like it doesn't
Yeah,
feel like
like yeah, the setup is good. Don't get me wrong,
yeah,
but at the same time, it's one of those things that you could tell that maybe if there was one more episode or one more thing, it would have felt more complete.
yeah.
Now, the other thing I was
Yeah, that was
more
the
at,
complaint I was going to bring up. It feels like the way they ended it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's like, well, that's the end. See you in season 2, and it's like, what? No, wait,
yeah.
that's where you're going to end it at? Okay,
Mm.
sure.
And it's not just that necessarily. It's also the fact that um the overall this show has 9 episodes,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And Netflix season for like 13 episodes,
Yeah, normally
give
12,
or
13. Yep.
yeah. So it was a twist. You let's go for maybe one more episode or one, just one. Nothing serious here. Just the one.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So that's what I think. I think maybe episode for this season could have been fine as well. But anyway, talking about the art style for a second, because you brought mention to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Here's the thing. I think it's a gorgeous looking show. I like the designs. I like the background. Some of the, kind of like with Avatar, some of those moments are just
Oh
breathtaking.
yeah, absolutely agreed.
Mm,
Like even the design as well, like the world design, the creature
yeah,
design.
again, like I said, very well made. But then there's this one thing that kind of puts me off, and that's the actual animation. Because
Yeah.
once there's this thing that it's technically computer generated, but it's rendered like the frame rate is lower so that it could emulate 2D animation.
So I was gonna.
Um,
So I tend to view art style and animation style as two separate things. So I was gonna bring it up a little bit later. Since you brought it up, I did a little bit of looking into this and seeing what I could find because it seemed weird to me that they did, as you said, computer generated animation, CGI, and all of that, because and then they animated it to a level that normal 2D animation is animated at,
mhm.
which is less keyframes. Like they have it animated at normally in anime, if I'm not mistaken, the keyframes you animate at for hand drawn animation is a lot fewer. So when you see things in certain areas, they might look a lot slower if you don't have enough keyframes for them. And it feels like, but that doesn't translate well for computer generated animation
Yeah,
because it doesn't
because
flow
let's
as
say,
well.
yeah, something. If I may compare this to a show we've done a lot on the Outcast, and we will be doing Volume 5 of that soon enough, people. But let's compare it to Ruby. Let's compare it to Ruby, for example. That CG trying to emulate 2D, but they don't limit themselves in terms of frames.
Yeah.
So it feels more natural, even though it doesn't have the budget of this. There's just something that feels really choppy when you're trying to do computer generated but make it look like 2D. And video games can video game again like some video games do it, like Sly Cooper, and hell, even some of the Avatar video games, if we're going to compare it to something like this. So when you are trying to, but video games are going for 60 frames per second for the most part. This is going for the 24, 25 frames thing, and it looks choppy to me in some cases. Again, not that the animation and the art is bad by any means, but it is jarring, and I can see how some people might be turned off by it.
Yeah, I agree. It's very much. This is something I hope they change in the next coming seasons because it takes away from a lot of moments. I feel like moments that are supposed to be slower and more, that are just supposed to be slower and more felt out. The animation being so kind of jerky and jarring, it just takes away from those moments. Now, this isn't to say the animation is like that throughout the entire show, because if it was, I don't think it would work at all. In their fast paced action scenes, the animation works perfectly, right? Because you
Yeah,
see, there is no slowdown there because of how they have their keyframes animated. But in the slower scenes, because they're using so few keyframes, things feel more jerky. If it was hand drawn animation, this wouldn't be a problem you would see because you would be drawing every every key frame, so it would be more subtle. The jerk would be more subtle, and you could hide it better. Since it's CG, it feels like they need to work at getting their system down still for their keyframes and how they need things to look, because this
hmm
just does not come across well here, especially in the slow scenes and the slow moments. You can really see it when as an example, when people are talking just that's all they're doing. It's just their heads kind of moving and they're just talking. You can really notice it then, where you can see like the mouth being very jerky in its movements, and it doesn't look like they're saying the words that they're saying. And from my understanding, again, this was something that they did kind of as a homage to old anime styles, where they would animate in a certain way using the keyframes. And there have been shows that have done this fairly well, but again, they failed at it here. It doesn't kill the show for me, but it definitely hurt the show a lot for me, and I hope that they get better. If they continue to do this, they get better at it, or they just outright change and just don't do it. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so I think we pretty much did everything that has to be said. Let's start going over the episodes.
Sure.
Okay. So spoilers from now on. If you haven't seen The Dragon Prince yet and are planning to do so, stop the video, go do something else, watch the season, come back. Anyway, so episode 1, let's just say this. We are not going to be talking about this. Like, we will try and be episode by episode accurate, but at the same time, keep in mind that since all the episodes are pretty much connected,
we'll just stick episode by episode. Let's not do the whole kind of jumping around too much, because it's just confusing. Let's just go episode by episode.
Yeah,
even if the episodes are more connected.
I'm just saying that try, but if we skip to another one, we're really finishing up on another, because again, it's like a movie.
Not. Let's not do that. I feel like we did that for
certain reasons, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think it came across as well. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
Let's try and keep it episode by episode if we can. And not jump around too much.
Episode 1, Echoes of Thunder. So right off the bat, when we hear like the setting of the humans and the elves fighting each other, and the humans supposedly killing the Dragon King, and again, pretty much killing the egg supposedly, and then there's the entire war that's gonna throughout this entire backstory. I got this Avatar vibe from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like long ago there was peace, and then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. The humans killed the Dragon King.
Well, no, I mean it's really you're using that as the start off point, but the start off point was humans, didn't kill the Dragon King until after they were kicked out of the Magic Lands by the elves. Though the reason the humans were kicked out was because either one person or one small group of people started using black magic, which basically took the life force from other magical beings in order to cast much stronger magic. Because this is fantasy, this is, magical creatures, all of that. And then because of that, the elves kicked them out of the Magic Lands and said, "You're no longer welcome here, you're not allowed here." So, kind of, let's not set up one side to be the sole bad guys here, because that's not what the show's doing, even though the show's kind of doing that.
And I'll get into that. That's one thing I do like. There's no clear-cut bad guy for the most part.
And it looks like the show wants to have that, but again, I'll get to this a bit later.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. So the first thing we see is we get introduced to the elves, and which again, I think the elves are really cool in this, if I might say, like they're like ninjas and everything. And
moon elves are there are other elves, and I assume they'll be designed differently and act differently comparatively.
Yeah, but in two elves that we see in this season,
sure.
I like this colony. I like how I like how there are rebels and kind of like a ninja clan, and they also have their own beliefs and their own. We'll get to this later with this handband, which you swear on it, and until you fulfill your promise to it, it doesn't come off. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
again, it helps set up the world a little bit and kind of define these groups of people.
and actually, and the first thing we see, like three main characters, Ryla, which I'm jumping the gun a bit here, is my favorite character. Uh, like like elf, ninja, Scottish. Do I need to say more? Like these three things go well together. What can I say?
Again, I agree
I
with. For the most part, I agree with you, right? I would go out on a limb and say, like, she's definitely, as of now, my favorite character as well. I really like and enjoy her.
Mhm.
But her voice did have to grow on me, I'll be honest. Like, the accent, I just don't know if it. To me, I just wasn't sure if it felt like it really fit who she was. Personally, that's
Well,
how I feel. But I will
I
say
kind of
the VA
I agree.
for Rayla did help it to grow on me. Like, she helped the voice to grow on me, and I couldn't see. And as of now, I don't think I could see her without that voice. Because again, like I think the
You
VA
know
is
something?
really good, and I think she did help to sell that character with that voice.
That's actually something about the VS and her specific, with the exception of the guy doing Saka. I don't think any of them actually did something before this.
I like how you called him.
So
But I like how you called him Sokka.
because it's Saka,
I mean,
and we weren't introduced to the character yet. We to him, so baby steps, Wolf. So, but yeah, for and supposed newcomer, she did a really good job.
oh sure,
And
absolutely.
and again, there's something about this. It's kind of one of those, for all intents and purposes, she's the hiccup. She in her tribe. She's the youngest. She didn't kill the human that she chased. She's the one that bonds with the enemy. We've seen this plot being done, but there's something about her that's really likable, and I want to see that. You know,
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree. Yeah, I also pointed out we didn't talk about it too much, but the music for this show is also extremely good and just enjoyable to listen to. Like they have a lot of really great tunes, really great backing tracks set up for different moments.
mhm. I'll admit I don't remember, so I'll take your word for it.
I try to pay attention to these things, HC.
Well, you also had a start than me. I had other things to do.
This is true.
Okay. So is there anything else in episode?
Dirtman, obviously, best thing to come from this show.
Actually, you know what? We are the other characters. Column, the
the eldest prince.
The oldest prince, and then there's Ezran.
His younger brother.
His younger brother, which is interesting. And Ezra, no, actually, Column is adopted, isn't he?
Column, I don't think he's adopted. He was just what it was is his mother was already married once and had Callum by someone else, and then married his stepdad, King Harrow, who then had Ezran with his mom, with Callum's mom.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and just I recalled something. They're not full-on brothers, just half brothers.
Yeah, they're half brothers. I assume. I could be wrong, but I assume they are half brothers.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we are into Callum, who's kind of a klutz. For we've seen that.
As was said, he's Sokka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not just the voice people. He really is kind of the Sokka of the group.
Which means he'll have his moment where he gets really, really good and really, really cool later on.
Which I was kind of because usually given the comic relief, his own show is not the best thing, but that's he actually as a main character.
To be honest,
they gave him a lot more to do.
I don't feel like
just
this is
comic.
his show though. I feel like I feel like this is more Rayla's show as of right now than it is anything else.
Yeah,
I feel like she's the one who we have the most focus on.
Yeah, and the one with the biggest. But I mean it in terms see, like, the cast listed, Column is usually the first one to show up, not Ryla.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're introduced to training. It's kind of a class. We are getting that feeling that there's a war coming, and the king is sending run away from the castle.
You're cutting in and out quite a bit, just to let you know.
For the love of.
Sorry.
I'm sorry that. What the hell is going on? Is it okay now?
It seems so. We'll see. I'll let you know.
Okay. But like I said, we are getting the war about to happen, and Callum and Aswan are supposed to be sent away to like a summer home or something. And this is all the first episode still, right?
Yeah, you're still in the first episode. You're still slightly going in and out a bit. Like
So you take over. So you take over. I'll fix this in a bit.
Okay. To take over, I guess they are. Yeah. As HC was saying, the war is the war is still kind of really going on. Like as the first episode starts off, the elves are there to assassinate the king, and as long as and Rayla's the one who kind of gives that up a little bit, because she's supposed to kill a human who runs away from them, a guard who catches them and runs away from them. She's supposed to run after him and kill him. She chooses not to, and that puts them at the disadvantage where they lose their advantage of surprise now. Should say, so they're there to assassinate the king because, as HC said earlier, they killed the Dragon King and destroyed
destroyed the egg.
Yeah.
Which contains the title Dragon Prince. Now, I think this is episode 1 kind of going into episode 2. We are introduced to Harrow, the king's advisor.
No, Viren is the king's advisor. Harrow is the king.
Oh. Yeah, I saw Harrow rejects his advisor's variance plan. I was a bit confused. But we are introduced to Viren, and there's something I do like about the relationship between these two. Like, you can tell that they go way back. You can tell they're friends, but at the same time, you can tell that one just wants to do things his way, and the other wants to do things his way, and there are conflicts. And I like that it's not because usually in stuff like this, the advisor is like is kissing up to the king. Or here there's like, no, I think you're wrong. Let me tell you how to do this correctly.
It feels so contrived, though, because we've not had the chance to build up this relationship between them. To us, it feels like, well, he's just mad all of a sudden out of nowhere. It feels like they chose somewhat of the wrong time to do build up here for this show. Maybe it feels like we should have been. And this is something I think a lot of this first season has, because, again, this first season is built up for the rest of everything else. It feels like we should have been set a little bit further back so we could build up Harrow and Viren and some of these other issues and things that crop up within this first season. Because, again, looking at King Harrow and Viren and how King Harrow very much gets angry with Viren a lot and tells him, and is very much telling him, no, I'm not letting you do this. I'm not doing this with you. I'm not partaking in using black magic anymore, right?
There's a lot that's not told. That's what you're saying.
It's not so much that. It just feels like it feels contrived. It feels like we should have been set up before this point so we could see the relationship between Viren and Harrow, and that way we have a better understanding of why things have degraded to the point they have. And you can really see this later, I feel, when Viren comes to King Harrow later with an opportunity to save his life and not be assassinated.
Yeah, but so I guess you could say I'm appreciating more of the idea rather than the execution.
I appreciate it. I just don't feel like I appreciate what they're going for, and I like what they're going for, and I like the setup. I just feel like, again, like you said, I feel like the execution maybe could have been done better.
Yeah. So Um, what else? Am I missing something from the first episode? I
Well, I
think
mean, we're in
we
episode 2 right now,
okay.
essentially.
So mhm. So the war is about to start. Even though Ryla is forbidden from going to the castle, she does sneak in anyway. She wants to kill she wants to kill both Aswan and King Harrow, but as I go as the fight goes on, they found out that the egg is actually not destroyed. The egg is actually exists, and they can save the dragon prince within it. That's the cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's the cliffhanger of episode 2, that the egg is still alive. It wasn't destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to point out real quick in episode 2, one of the elves is literally in the castle chasing around after one of the princes, and the castle and 2 guards see this, are alerted of this, are ready to attack said elf, and the castle doesn't go on high alert at that point already. Something feels off there.
Well, yeah, you know something. This is probably the most realistic thing in the entire show. That an alarm goes off and nobody really does anything with it,
I don't
and
think
you all
that's
have to.
realistic at all.
You would be
I
surprised.
mean, to
You
be
would be
fair, those 2
surprised.
guards were knocked out, but I feel like someone would see the 2 guards laying there knocked out and be like, huh, maybe we should get set up now instead of doing all of this talking thing we're doing, because it seems like someone's already here. It feels silly, if you ask me. It feels like one of those silly things that maybe could have been thought out a little bit better, but I'm nitpicking, really, if I'm honest, too. So I do want to say,
If I
when
do, I just want to say that I do like Ryla and Azran's interaction, and you can see this warrior ninja trying to trying to catch this little boy, and the little boy does manage to outwit her in a lot
Mhm.
of ways.
Yeah, it's
Those,
definitely like her interactions with both Callum and Ezra are really fun too.
hmm
But
And I like how Callum can tell where Azran is by the by his fingerprints from what he was eating on the wall.
mhm. I
you
will
know,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I will say in episode 2 we get a great moment between Callum and his father, King Harrow, where he brings him in alone to talk to him alone, and gives him a letter saying, "Hey, here's all of the things I can't tell you or am unable to tell you in some way, shape, or form. I've written them down here. You'll need this." And he's like, "No, I won't. Don't give this to me. I don't want this." And you can tell like they both know that he's probably going to die, and they both and Callum just doesn't want to accept that and wants things to be different. It's a good moment. It's a really good moment, and I think this is and it sets up a lot of stuff for the future potentially as well.
Mhm. Okay. And let's see if there's anything else here. But yeah, actually, what's the name of Varen's daughter? What's her name again? I need to see this.
Claudia.
Claudia. Apparently they were setting up a romance between her and Callum, and
I don't know if a
that
romance. I think it's more just Callum has a crush on her.
yeah, but you know what I mean. And it's weird that they set it up for 2 episodes, and then it seems like it's going nowhere.
Again, crush.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
feel like
because as soon as the show kept going, I was like, okay, so to tell you the truth, I think he has more in common and more to be interested in Ryla than Claudia, if you ask me.
I would agree. So it'll be interesting to
But
see where they go with things.
yeah, well, second season, let's wait it out. And for the love of God, stop with the messages college I'm trying to record. um, okay. So anything else on episode 2 from you? Again, because I'm going by memory here. You have
No, not really. I think
okay. We finish it when we find out that the dragon egg is still alive.
yeah.
Is still here. And episode 3 picks up right in there with Claudia finding them in that room and trying to chase
Well,
them down, but they,
no, go
yeah,
ahead.
sure. No, I was just about to say there's a chase scene, and we find out that during that chase, we found out that Column does have a bit of is it Column or Asman? I think it's Asman.
Column. No, it's column.
Yeah, Column is with the magic, true.
Or Callum.
So, mhm. So Column has this magic ability to it. And that's interesting. And there we go. And our trio is formed in a sense, and
I do feel like the magic thing's a little bit weird because we have no clue if only certain people can use magic or if anyone can use magic. It's a little bit weird in that regard. I'm not quite sure where they're going with that or where they're coming from that one because we just don't really have a whole lot of context for that one. But it's not a bad moment by any means. Though, I would say the episode does start off with kind of the sad procession of of King Harrow getting ready and of all the guards kind of lining up and getting ready for the attack from the, assassins, the elves and all of that. And again, I love the music in this show, but this comes back to that original problem that I had earlier with like talking about, King Harrow and Viren and their relationship. We don't really know enough about King Harrow to really kind of feel anything here, but it feels like, they have the music, the setup, all of it feels like, hey, you should feel sad.
yeah, like they know
Why?
something we don't.
Like, why should I feel sad? Because I don't have a connection here as much as I possibly could. So again, it just comes back to the point of I wish, or I feel like it would have been better if they would have set up a couple of episodes before this to just kind of detail things out a bit more and give us kind of just a bit of setup for some of these characters. Maybe though that'll pay off later with Callum and Ezran's reaction to what happened to their father.
Because I think jumping the gun a bit here, they don't really know their father's dead. Oh,
I feel like Callum
actually,
suspects it and realizes it, but but Ezran is the one who definitely kind of feels like, yeah, he has no clue. Although, yeah, we'll get to it in a minute. I just won't mention it yet.
Yeah, we will get to it eventually. Okay, let me think here. So the one thing we did say about animation and fight scenes, this episode had a lot of cool action sequences.
Yeah.
Especially, when Ryla is fighting her leader. That's,
absolutely. I agree. Like, that was really good and really well done.
And it is a good fight, but then again, unless they'll say it in the dialogue, but I don't recall exactly at the moment, but, when Ryla is taking on her leader, she tells them, they show the egg, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so they have this plan of returning the egg to Dragon and then stop this entire war. Why not go along with it, except for we need this show to keep going?
It's the same with right, they find out the elves are there because Rayla doesn't kill that one guard, and the leader Runan tells them, "You've killed us all, Rayla." It's like, well, no, she hasn't, Runan. You could just go back to where you came from. You're good. I mean, like, his one reason is, well, we've binded ourselves now, so now we have to do what we set out to do, because if they don't, the binding will, it doesn't kill them, but it does, like, wherever the bind is at, it'll take that particular, like, Rayla has the binds wrapped around both of her hands, so if they don't go through with whatever it is, the plan was for them to go through, which is kill King Harrow and kill Ezran, then she would lose, her hands, right? But because they, I feel like it just it feels like, hey, we need the plot to move forward, so let's kind of come up with maybe things that aren't too contrived but still feel a little bit contrived as to we have to do this still. It's like, do you though? Is losing an arm preferable to starting an entire war that's going to kill hundreds, if not thousands, of your people and their people?
Yeah, again, like, you can lose your arm but save most of your people, or you could just die trying. And yeah, there's no real, I can see the point, but at the same time, I don't agree with it necessarily. And again, it just feels like we need the
But
show to move on.
I will say, right, I feel like it works for Runan's character because, again, I feel like they're trying to set up Runan as he's very hardline as well. Like, he doesn't see, like, he's very similar to Viren in a lot of ways, where he's very hardline and he doesn't see humans as anything other than terrible, despicable people that aren't worth caring about and aren't worth dealing with. So I do get it from his character perspective. Maybe they could have set that up a little bit better. I don't really know, but I do feel like I get where he's coming from and I understand where he's coming from and why he wants to continue on with this and go through with it, regardless of any new information that's brought to him. It's not about losing his arm at that point. It's about elven pride. It's about, his pride, elven pride. It's about wanting to get back at the humans for killing, the Dragon King. I do get it, right?
Yeah, I do get it, but I just think that doing something because of pride is one of those for the love of God.
That's the entire thing between Harrow and Viren too, though.
I know, but with these two, I can kind of get it because you can tell one just wants the throne and one wants because in this case, it just
but he doesn't want the throne, though.
Does he? Does
No.
he? The next episode.
But that's
the next episode is appointing himself Lord Protector.
That's the problem, though. Like, he does, like, he actively comes to Viren. Viren actively, and you can see it in this episode. I'm not skipping ahead. We're still in episode 3, by the way. Viren goes to Harrow saying, "Hey, I'm coming to you because I see you as a brother, because I'm willing to give up my life for you." That's what they were going to set up. That's what he was going to do. Like, that's what they set up. That's why Viren had the moment he had with Claudia, looking at, painting of him and Harrow in the past, and where they were both so happy with one another and being together because they were good friends. They were very close with one another. And then all of a sudden, Harrow's like, "You know what? Screw you. You're my servant. I'm being prideful. You serve me. You're not a brother. Deal with it." And it's like, what? It's like, really? That's like, and then that leads Viren to be like, "Well, I want the throne now because you're obviously not capable of handling it." It feels contrived as shit.
No. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you that it's contrived. Okay, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that I can get what they're trying to go for.
I get it. I just don't agree. The same as with Runan.
I don't agree as well. But hear me out. With these two, I can get what they're trying to get across here.
Sure.
That there are these two old friends that are having different opinions about the situation, and it's a war, so obviously this is going to happen. But so I can see, even if it's contrived, and even if it's just we need to get this plot moving, I can see why it's being done. When it comes to Renan, again, you can say it kind of fits to his character, but at the same time, you see the egg is all right. Your people are in danger. And, the reason this entire war exists is laying right in front of you, and you can fix it. Shut up about your pride. You'll be like, something. I have something. Won't it be more prideful for him if he would have brought the dragon prince egg back to the dragons? Wouldn't it be more prideful?
No, because then you don't get the revenge, the payback.
Who cares about the revenge? You stopped the war. You stopped the freaking war.
But they killed the Dragon King. Quid pro quo. Again, and that's the point, though. He's not supposed to see it reasonably or in any kind of logical manner, right? Like, he's supposed to be acting more unreasonably about it. I think that is kind of his character.
But there's a difference between unreasonable and idiot. This is an more towards an unreasonable.
This is my same. This is a very similar complaint to Harrow and Viren, by the way.
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, I just get the point with Harrow and Viren, but I don't.
If we're being honest,
In here, it was just I don't get your point. Like,
I mean, if we're
why?
being honest, every issue from this entire season can literally be handled if people just, said, "Hey, here's what's going on. These are my feelings about this." If they would just talk, every issue would have been solved without any problems. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
but again, something I said it a few months ago. Same because show, game, movie, whatever. Same because we need this thing to move on is not a good explanation.
No, that's not my explanation. Like I'm literally saying, like every single one of the issues that the show, like every single one of like the issues that people have within the show, like Harrow and Viren, like their issue could have been solved if they would have just talked more and Harrow wouldn't have been prideful. Ronan could have been solved if he would have just talked more and not have been prideful. The looking at later issues as well could have been solved if people just talked instead of just assuming, well, no one's gonna listen, so we can't talk. It's like, try it, damn it.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it just bothered me a lot more. But anyway, Runan is captured. Harold is dead. I was about to call him Harold for some reason. And,
King Harold.
And our three heroes escape, and they decide to return the egg to the dragons and try to stop the war. This leads up to episode 4.
I'm gonna point it out now. Quick. I'm gonna try and call something that I expect they're gonna do. Harrow's not actually dead. Viren just traded Harrow's soul for the bird's, and Harrow's soul is now currently inside of the bird.
Could be.
It's not a. I guarantee that's what's gonna happen. Harrow's not dead. I guarantee it. I would not be surprised at all.
Okay. But anyway, so this episode kind of a plot A and a plot B.
Episode 4, Bloodthirsty, right?
Episode 4 has a plot B in a sense. So, in my opinion, plot A is what goes on with Callum, Ryla, and everything. So I want to just say that they're reaching like the family's winter lodge, where they apparently have something they need to help Callum with his magic, and they send Ryla in there, and it's like and it's like, you go ahead, no one should be here, and then their aunt comes along, and Ryla actually has this funny moment of, no one's going to come here. I like that.
Ryla's great. And I love how she, like at the beginning of this episode too, she has a back and forth with Bait, their pet frog, or pet, the other pet frog, or Glowtune. Sorry,
the not Momo.
Yeah, the not Momo. I do love that because that's again just a great moment for Rayla, and I enjoy her character, and this is just one of those things that, as I said before, like her VA definitely helped her voice to grow on me, even though I didn't necessarily thought it fit at first. And this is why, like moments like this, like helped her, like just the VA getting across, like, yeah, this voice for Rayla is growing on me. I'm liking it more and more, and you're doing that. Like, great job on your part.
Yeah.
Also, I saw that coffee joke. I'm sure Rush would appreciate that too.
Yeah. Something that was actually the thing I thought when I saw that joke.
Call it, what was it? Morning potion? Like, crap. Good morning potion or something? Like, I forget what they called it.
Something like that.
It was a really dumb name, but I saw the joke. It was also, we didn't point it out. Episode 3, I think it is, or episode 2, which one of the two has the joke of Claudia and her flashlight hand and having to hit her arm in order to get it to work again because it goes out temporarily.
Yeah, I think it's in 3. Yeah, that was funny.
It's a silly dumb joke, but
yeah, but
I'll admit I chuckled.
Yeah, but it's one of those things you don't expect to happen in this kind of thing because it's extra animation that they need to put into it. So why not? Why not? It gives this world a bit more of a tangibility that the magic isn't perfect.
Sure, yeah.
Even magic can screw up.
even though it's literally magic coming from her arm and she has to treat it like a flashlight. It's
You know
it's silly,
something?
it's dumb, it's weird, but yeah, I agree, it is fun.
Well,
Why
yeah,
not do it?
because let's be honest, if in Harry Potter they all of a sudden said that the wands need batteries in order to work, you would laugh your ass off, wouldn't you?
Probably.
And that's the same thing. Okay, back to episode 4. So we meet Cal. Why does his name escape me? Azran. And we meet their aunt, and I do want to point something out to credit the
Aunt
show.
Amaya.
Hmm?
Their aunt's name is Amaya, by the way.
Yeah. One thing I love about that, people brought up in Avatar, how it's great that they give like a girl, that there is like a girl power in it with Katara, and they're not really putting much emphasis on it. She just does waterbending. She's like, they maybe had one episode about her breaking the norm, but they're not really pushing it in your face. And again, kind of like with in Korra, with Korra and Asami's relationships, they don't really put the lesbian thing in your face.
I mean, it kind of comes out of nowhere at the end a little bit.
Okay, the point still stands.
Oh yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
But these creators do like take these characters that and again, Sokka was the comic relief. You don't really expect them to do badass things, and Bolin in Korra also is also kind of like that.
And Toph was
Toph was blind. They always have this thing that they take these minorities with handicaps, but they don't really put any emphasis on the handicap. They still do their best, and they're still great characters despite this, and they don't really pushing it into your face. And I really like that Amaya, their aunt, is deaf, and she has a translator going around.
She's not deaf. Deaf means can't hear. If I'm not mistaken, she's just mute, so she can't talk.
Well, the thing up is one thing I like is because I have a deaf friend in my class, and I see him, a translator and stuff.
I assume she's not deaf because it seems to me like she can hear people the way it seems. So
she could also probably read their lips. That's another thing.
This is true. She probably could.
So the point is the fact that she has this that she speaks in sign language and has a translator around. I really enjoy that. And again, they don't really put that much emphasis on it, and it's general. So how great is that to either if deaf or not? Imagine if a deaf person does watch this.
Great.
How empowering this is.
Anyone who has to use sign language to communicate, right? Like them watching this, it's just great. The one thing that takes me away from it is, God, I wish the animation wasn't so choppy at times in the slower areas because it messes with the sign language. And I would love for people who understand and know sign language way better than I do to come out and say like, hey, this is actually being done perfectly in sync. Like this is all exactly what you would expect from sign language. She's signing exactly what you think she's saying, or what, I forget. I don't know if the guy who's supposed to be her translator is given a name, but like what he's translating, that's exactly what she's signing. Like I would love to have someone who knows sign language better than I do come out and say that. But again, the animation kind of takes away from that.
Yeah, I do want to try and show that friend from class I have this show just to know how accurate this is. But seeing this, annoying a person like this, I major kudos.
Yeah,
if I have to.
Absolutely. Like this is great, and I'm like I see nothing wrong with this being here, and I'm glad it exists. I can't like this was really cool. It was unexpected, but like it doesn't feel out of place. It just feels like this is a part of the world. It fits, and that's it. And Amaya's a really cool character, and she's definitely another character who I really like a lot as well.
Mm-hmm. And again,
I'm wrong. And again, she is deaf. She's not mute. Maybe I just took it the wrong way because it seemed to me like she was just able to hear people. She just wasn't able to speak. So that's my fault. I took that the wrong way. She is deaf.
Well, there you go. but then again, they do capture in for a bit, but then and the biggest twist is that, and the twist of the episode is, a twist to Amaya and her soldiers, that her nephews are running away with this elf,
Well,
and they're
they
trying
were
to stop
more,
her.
as far as they're concerned, she abducted them, because of
Oh yeah,
Callum's
right.
lie. Because of Callum's
Yeah.
lie.
Hmm.
Which I
Sure.
love that they had Rayla bring up, right? Like Rayla's, immediately brings up like, hey, why'd you do that? That was, why didn't you just tell them? Why did you accuse me of being a monster and this terrible thing? I'm not that. I love that she got upset about that and called him out on that too. Like, you almost got me killed because of your foolishness and how you see and your lie. Why do that? And again, pointing back up, if Callum would have decided to just talk like Ezran suggested, probably could have solved the issue. Probably wouldn't have had to deal with this. Again, going back to my point, this entire season is just a complete thing of misunderstandings, and people should probably just talk. Like, talk. It's helpful, I assure you.
Yeah. Well, I think the main problem with this show is that you can say, if people just said this thing, nothing would have happened. So let's just not
True,
bring
right? Like,
this up.
the plot wouldn't be very much the plot that it is if people did talk. So I get it, right? But it just feels like if that's going to be kind of our major issue going forward, is people just not communicating with one another, I feel like it's going to get kind of old fairly fast, and they're going to have to do more with that. And that is something I hope they do more with, right? Like, I don't want to see, I want to see, as we get more into Acadia and the Magic Lands, I want to see elves who are very much hateful and distrustful of Callum and Ezran, right? I want to see, even though they might be carrying the dragon egg, I want to see them kind of be reproachful as well. I want to see elves who are just as bad as some of the humans we've seen, right? And how they treat Rayla. I want to see that because I feel like that's going to be more interesting. I really hope they don't do the elves are pretty much all the good guys. It's all the humans who are bad, guys. Yeah. I'm tired of seeing that. Do something different.
True. And
it's
okay,
like,
yeah.
and getting
But
Renan, it seems like that might be what we're going for, but a later character might prove that wrong.
who knows?
I hope not.
But the other thing that happened in this episode is that after King Hero's burial, Varen appoints himself the Lord Protector, and now the war on the elves is officially happening. Like, now we are in a war. Before it was like a pre-war thing. Now it's a war.
Before it was like, we're both kind of holding our borders. We don't trust one another. We don't like one another, but we're not actively attacking one another. As far as we're aware, right? Like, we don't know what the border between the two lands looks like, right? We just have Amaya saying that, being the general and the person who protects the border, we have her saying that things are tense.
Yeah.
That's all we have to go on. So assume that, things are tense and things are kind of just like, we're not attacking one another, but we're not exactly peaceful either. Again, gonna call it, seeing that the bird is locked up in a cage and can't get out at all. That bird is definitely, King Kara's soul is inside that bird, guaranteed.
Okay.
I would not doubt it for a second if that's what they do.
Yeah,
would not
same.
be surprised.
Are we done with the episode? Or can we move on?
Yeah, we can move on to episode 5.
Okay, so an empty throne. I think this is the episode where we really get into Ryla's backstory or motivation.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah, she's trying to redeem her. And
we also get a little bit on Amaya too, and learn that
Yeah,
and
she was the queen.
Yeah, learn about Callum's mom. Yeah.
And again, apparently, is Grand her translator? Because, or am I confusing it?
I do not remember her translator's name, like I said, but I can. Yeah, it's Gren.
Because
it is Gren. Yeah, you're right.
So because she lives to the border, and Varen imprisons him, and that's another thing. When I do say that I like the conflict between the idea of the conflict anyway between Viren and Hero, you can kind of who when Viren goes around and do stuff like this, it makes you appreciate Hero more. But at the same time, now that you see this, you're wait a minute. Where am I going with this? I had a
where
point.
are you going with this?
I had a point. Let me try and actually, you go talk at the episode, try and figure out what I want to say.
Yeah, speaking of King Harrow and Viren, I'll say again, I still feel like his change of "I'm a villain" now is very contrived in my opinion. But I do see what they're going for. Of he's not necessarily just "I'm a villain who wants the throne." He's more so "I'm a villain who I'm doing this for the betterment of humanity, for the betterment of the realm, because the elves are not going to like. He very much thinks what he's doing. You know, he has the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? You know that old saying. I think that's what he's walking down. That's what he's doing. He's doing all of this. Sure, none of these are good decisions. Sure, but he's doing it because he feels like they're the best decisions to make, and he feels like Harrow wasn't doing so. And that's why he's taken over the throne now himself, and that's why he wants to do so, and he wants to lead because he feels like he's the best person fit for the job. He's going to make the decisions that need to be made, even though those decisions really aren't the best of things, right? So I wouldn't say he's a villain who just wants to rule and wants the throne and wants to take over. I think he's more so he doesn't necessarily want to, but he sees it as this is the only choice I have. This is the best choice to make because I'm the only one who can do this, even though that's not really true. So again, the villain who's flawed and you might be able to sympathize with, I guess you would say. Although I don't know if they get that across very well, because again, like I said, I think it still feels somewhat contrived.
Is this the episode Water?
The one where Rayla's afraid of water?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is that episode.
Okay. So again, I like that fight they had in the water with this creature, and again, you can kind of feel the trust building between these three. So I like that episode. Good one.
I will say at the very beginning of this episode, it looks like we kind of get a glimpse as to what the price of using black magic may be. It's hard to say one way or another, but it looks like, you can very clearly see that Viren looks much older and grayer, and like there's a lot, possibly wrong with him. And then he absorbs the energy from, one of those butterflies, and immediately he's back to looking like normal Viren. So maybe that is the price of black magic at a glance that we can't fully see, but who knows? As of right now, we will see.
Yes. So episode 6. Oh.
I will say, like, there's a nice moment, like, again, looking at the moment that Viren has with Amaya at her sister's grave, right, is a good moment. Like, it definitely kind of gives that, again, that kind of feeling that Viren is the sympathizable villain, where you can see that he's trying to make what he feels are the best decisions for the good of humanity, right, even though he's still misguided.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's definitely what they're trying to set forward, and that's what they're trying to do. I just don't know if they get it across in the best way. But yeah, I guess we can move on. Episode 6.
Okay, so this is Ryla finally reveals what that thing on her arm is, and this does bring up a lot of attention, especially when the egg falls into the icy water alongside Azrin. And
almost killing both.
Almost killing both.
We also have Corvus, the person who was sent to track Rayla, Callum, and Ezran, who is essentially a badass. He's this show's Aragorn, I feel. He's probably going to be this show's Aragorn. I feel like we're going to see more of him, and he's just going to be silently tracking them in the background, always.
Yep. And actually, do they reach the city where Rala is trying to get that
That's
magic
next
blade?
episode. That's next
That's
episode.
next episode?
Yeah, the
Okay.
dagger and the wolf. We're currently on Through the Ice.
I don't actually. Is this the one where Viren is sending his he's sending his children to find the princess and kill them?
Yes, this is the one where he tells Claudia one thing and then he tells his son a completely different thing. What is his son's name, by the way?
Soren.
Is it Soren?
According to the description, yes.
Yes, it is Soren. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. But yeah, like he tells Soren to, I want you to kill the kids. Then Claudia, you might have to do a few things. Something might happen. I can't remember exactly what all he says to them, but he definitely tells them like two completely different things.
Like I think that if Soren acts a bit out of line, then keep him in check, which is probably part of his plan because we want to kill them, so it will probably count to Claudia as acting out of line, and
that way nothing can get back. And it's kind of it's definitely interesting that he does that.
Yeah, well, politician, what can you do?
True.
Okay. Anything else? Again, because most of the episodes here, we don't really have much to say because they're just we just get on the plots, and if we don't like something, we discuss it, and if we like something, we say it's good and we move on. So there's really there's nothing to really add to it just yet.
I will say it's what was I going to bring up? This is the episode where we see, they did still take Runan as a prisoner and he's actually still alive. We find that out.
Yeah, we found out how tortured.
Yeah, we see that Viren is torturing him to find out information about a few different things. So it'll be interesting to see, where that leads to.
And then we get to episode 7, The Dagger and the Wolf.
Yep.
Oh, so you're in this show. I forgot, actually. But, lame joke. Yeah. You shouldn't do this like that by this point. Just put up a sitcom's laugh track or something. That usually means the joke isn't funny. Usually. But anyway, Rana tries to get rid of the curse with the magic blade. She kind of wins in a bet, but it doesn't work.
She doesn't really win it in a bet. Like she has
to. What was it? Was an altar?
No, she doesn't do anything. Like the guy who has the blade is fighting in the city, and he fights that giant dude with that giant blade because he says, "I can beat you with just this tiny little dagger." And what it is the dagger is actually a magic blade that's that's forged by sun elves, which basically means the dagger is extremely hot. It's basically like this dagger can cut through anything, with ease because it's laced with heat, essentially heat magic, fire magic. And like we see this fight between this dude with this giant sword and this giant dude with this giant sword and this tiny guy with this little knife, and he just cuts straight through the big dude's sword and wins the fight and wins his money and kind of goes off on his own, and Rayla follows him, and that leads into her kind of asking the guy for the dagger to see if she can use it to do what she needs to do, and it doesn't work, obviously.
Yeah, and the second thing is that now that after the egg fell into the water, to cold water in the previous episode, it's probably it's somewhat damaged. So they take it to a healer, and he tells them the story about a young girl who tried to save her young wolf puppy, I guess we could say.
I don't know if it has a name.
But he tells the story, and they actually meet the girl, and they set out to find this healer.
The wolf's name is Ava.
Yeah, the wolf's name is Ava. Correct. So
Best
they set
character.
off to.
I'm biased.
Yeah. So what is sister? Your what? Just
Don't
out
go.
with
No,
it.
let's not go down that road. No, bad joke. Bad joke, HC. Bad joke.
Again, like it's new, and honestly,
Bad
your
joke.
bad just as big as mine.
No.
Yes.
Moving on from this, let's not dig down this hole
No, no,
any
no, no,
further.
no, 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 dear friend. We are going to settle this in the Dragon Prince way, which means we are not going to talk this over. We're going to fight each other.
Moving on. I like this episode.
You're ignoring me. I very but anyway, yeah, it's a good one, and I saw how the story about the little girl presented, and that it's apparently real.
Yeah, I do like how they kind of represent Ellis and Ava and kind of their relationship with one another and how things, work. I do love how you can clearly see, like, the audience clearly sees Ava's necklace and immediately, like, for me, like, I saw her necklace, I was like, something's not right here. Something definitely didn't happen the way this little girl thinks it happened, right? Like,
Yeah,
because you can clearly see that necklace is definitely like, that's magic. That has to be magic. There's something going on there. Like, you immediately know. And going into the next episode, I would say this episode and the next one are very connected compared to other episodes.
Yeah.
Other episodes you can probably take a little bit more on their own, but these two episodes, what is it? The Dagger and the Wolf and the Cursed Caldera are
yeah.
and even like Wonderstorm episode 9. These three episodes very closely connected. I feel in terms of kind of they all progress a very similar storyline throughout.
And moving on to Cursed Caldera.
I would say like the Dagger and the Wolf. We get to see a bit more of Rayla getting accused of being a terrible monster of an elf, like because she is found out that she is an elf, and she is like kind of chased through the city, and then Callum and Ezra find her, and they're also chased because they're in a group traveling together. Like, I like this, and it kind of shows off that mistrust, that misunderstanding that between their two races, and I really do hope we see more of that, and we get to see more of humans doing that to Rayla, and kind of Rayla and having to deal with that and talk with that with Callum and Ezra. And I also hope we get to see it from the elves side too, and that we do see that not all of the elves are trusting or good. Some of them are mistrusting, and some of them are have that same misunderstandings and that hatred toward humans as well. I would like to see that too.
Again, this you can tell. Maybe it's because when I watched it, I knew this is the second to last episode, but I felt like this is the point where they're starting to build up the second season, which is now confirmed.
Yeah, as releasing in 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, obviously, sometime 2019.
Hopefully early.
Let's wait until September. That's my guess. It's always like a year exactly afterwards.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
Because I would like to see more. As I said, I would like to see more of this. Even though I've been a little bit more critical of it, I would like to see more.
But anyway, yeah.
The Cursed Caldera. Really moving on.
Yeah, the Cursed Caldera. Anything else to say? Pretty much said what I
think the Dagger and the Wolf, we've talked about it more or less, and what kind of goes on there. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, we can move
on. So the final episode, Wonderstorm.
Well, Cursed Caldera. We kind of didn't talk too much about that.
Oh, I asked you.
Oh, well, I guess I'll say quickly on the Cursed Caldera. We have Ellis and Ava leading our friends through the Cursed Caldera. It's supposedly cursed. They see some of the monsters, and
also the creepy monster, the atmosphere.
Yeah, they really did that extremely well, I would say. And also, like, again, the monster designs are really well done. And
again, you can get Avatar from it, but in a good way, not in a rip-off way. I see more of this way.
Yeah, I agree. Eh, Is this the episode where we find out that Ezran can communicate with animals, or is that next episode?
I think it's this one because the next, the last big spider illusion or something. I think it's this one.
Yeah, it is this one. Looking at some of the stuff on it, that's interesting. I'm wondering how that's going to come into play, and I guess that kind of goes back into him being able to kind of hear that there was something inside of the dragon egg originally, and him being able to understand that the dragon egg is dying potentially. Like him understanding and knowing all that is interesting, and I'm wondering how they're going to play that back in. Like maybe it has something to do with his mom and who she was. I'm guessing
Could
potentially.
be.
It'll be
And
interesting
also
to see.
there's probably some why, because Colin is not necessarily, Colin is his half brother, but there's probably a reason why the elves want to kill Harrow and
As
Azran,
of
but
now, that
but
reason
not
is
Colin.
revenge, right? But yeah, they didn't.
Yeah.
Well, Column they didn't care about.
But then again, why not? Why go for not the older kid?
Again, I think it's the parallel, right? Like they killed the Dragon King and his son, so they want to kill King Harrow and his son. Column isn't his son; it's his stepson. So
yeah, I know that.
Blood relation.
If Harrow dies, who's the next to take the throne?
Column, I assume, or Callum, I assume.
Yeah, but you say, and now that I think about it, you say I assume. It's never really specified if Harrow dies, who legally is going to be the king.
If you want to go by actual old age stuff, then Callum would not be king. Callum would be he might be the eldest in line, but Ezran is the true heir to the throne. If you look at it by actual, like, and how they used to do, like, actual blood relations, if I'm not mistaken, Ezran is the true heir to the throne. Callum is not. He is, even though he's older, he would not be the true heir to the throne because he is not the king's natural, blood son.
Well, I think so. We're pretty much moving on to the final episode, or anything else on Curse Caldera.
Again, my memory's a little bit fuzzy on these last 3 episodes, so Curse Caldera is not too much more I can say, I don't think. I didn't remember anything in this episode that I didn't like or anything like that. And I think we did get to see, if I'm not mistaken, this was the episode where they fought that giant leech thing? Or was that next episode?
Next episode, there's a giant spider.
No, okay, yeah, that's next episode. So yeah, I guess we can move on from Cursed Caldera. Sorry. So I guess episode 9, Wonderstorm.
Episode 9. So we finally reach, so there's a big fight with a giant spider, which Azaran then recognizes as an illusion, which again, I think it has something to do with how he's special, and and what they want him, and once they want him specifically. And then I think the big twist is that once they reach, it's an illusionist, and at the end of the day, Column sacrifices, his stone in order to hatch the egg, and the baby dragon is born. And the baby dragon is, the handband, which her curls in a sense. So he saves her.
Yeah, we see the baby dragon born. It looks adorable. It looks cute. It is, and it helps. And apparently, the baby dragon can easily take off Rayla's handband. He just kind of bites it and, like, this is mine now. I want this as a chew toy, and it just comes off immediately.
I just want to say, because people who know us probably expect us to make that joke. So yeah, the egg doesn't explode. That is all.
And technically, it did explode, didn't it? Because lightning struck it, and it kind of went. It kind of did explode, if I remember correctly, a little bit. Because, like, they had, I guess the egg itself didn't explode, but the primal stone exploded into that massive storm. So in
Well, but
order
that's
for
the
the egg
storm,
to,
not the egg.
but the egg couldn't be but the egg couldn't hatch without the storm, so technically the egg needed an
Technicalities,
explosion to be
wolf
hatched.
technicalities. Let's not discuss this now. But yeah, the dragon is born, and he's adorable and everything, and the crew achieved their goal. But then we see Claudia and Soren locate their position, and that's where the season ends.
Which is a little odd. Again, talking about that kind of this, it feels like we could have gone for another episode to just kind of set us up for the next leg of the adventure, but we just kind of end here. So, which again, it feels a little weird that we didn't get something else, because it feels like we should have just gotten one more thing to kind of say.
Again, like I said, maybe 1 or 2 more episodes could have given us a full circle. But maybe their plan for season 2 is so good that we'll wonder that, and maybe we just need to wait and see.
Sure.
But at the same time, maybe because maybe when we'll see season 2, we'll say, you know what, I can see why they stopped here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as of now, meh cliffhanger. But overall, again, I enjoyed this journey, and I'm glad I took it.
This is, I've been referencing it a little bit here and there of kind of the elves being put forward as this, hey, we're all the good guys, we're the nice race. The humans are all the ones who are bad, and they have all the bad people and the humans. This is where I kind of come back to that. I'm a little bit iffy on how they're going to show the elves, and I hope they don't do this, and I hope we do get more elves that are kind of similar to Renan, that they're all kind of, that some of them are also mistrusting and misguided and misunderstand the humans and do have that hatred for them as well, because the older elf who's introduced in this episode at the very end as the kind of protector of the caldera, right? She very much comes across like she doesn't, she's very trusting towards the humans. She's very okay. She's very kind, very nice. And it's like, are we going to do that? Are we going to do the general, like, hey, the elves are all good guys. They're all, pretty cool compared to the humans who are just terrible. It's like, I want to see something a bit different here, not the same general fantasy trope we normally go with elves. I want to see you do something a little bit different. I think you do have the chance here to do that, and I'd like to see it. But as of now, you've made me a little bit iffy, considering we've seen a few elves and only one of them have been the difference, right? 2 of them have been fairly similar in their trust of humans and their acceptance towards humans. I do love the fact, though, that, she did the thing that we have the dog. Ellis and Ava, right? Like, great additions to the show temporarily, or even permanently, maybe, if they become a part of the team. Like, they were really fun, and I love their back and forth with all of the characters, like Ellis and Ava. Like, Ellis is back and forth with Callum, and, Ava and all of that. They're just, all of their back and forth was just a lot of fun to see, and it was really enjoyable, right? Anything else to bring up would be once more, like, looking at the design of the creatures and the design of the bird that the older elf guide flies in on. Like, that bird is absolutely beautiful looking.
Agreed. I don't really have much by this point.
We should say the Dragon Prince can communicate telepathically?
It's brought up, but at the same time, they don't really do anything with it.
Yeah.
At least, as far as I remember. So, anything else to add, or should close discussion on the Dragon Prince for now until season 2?
Yeah, I think overall, right, like, this is a good show. It's worth the watch, and it had a little bit of a lackluster ending. There's definitely, I hope we fix the animation issues and we get rid of this, and either they get better at, going for the feel of the animation they want to go for, and they get better with doing the whole thing with the keyframes and the slower parts of their show, because they want to have these slow parts, but I feel like the animation being kind of jarring and janky takes away from it at times. If they can fix that, and if we get just more of this world, and we get kind of, and now that we've kind of got things a little bit set up, and we can get going more into the story and more into these characters and their interactions, I think there's something good
You know
here.
something? I think you could tell this was an experiment in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
So maybe
I can agree.
after,
Like I
so
think they were
maybe now
definitely
that
trying something new and learning from it, and I think that now that we've kind of got our baseline set, I think they can really go somewhere. I agree.
Mhm. Okay, so I think that's all for the episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed. What do you think about the Dragon Prince? What would you like to see for season 2? You can tell us all about that in the comment section below. You can also find us on Tumblr, where we're on the Berkcast team, and our Twitter is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C. Want to recommend something for the Outcast? You can do this in the following ways as well. We'll be happy to do it. And to those waiting on Ruby, it's coming. Volume
Volume
5
5
is
is
coming.
coming. We are going to do it. I've not let them forget.
Yes.
I promise. I will make them cover it. No
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah, so until next time, I was,
And I've been Wolf.
and we will talk to you all next time. Take care.
Bye bye.